Now let's erase what we have. We're going to talk about maps, which is another type of data structure. You can think of arrays as a data structure, maps as a different type of one. It allows us to store our information in key value pairs, which may come in handy as opposed to an array in quite a few cases. Let's, for example, say we have a group of students at a college, and each student has a name and a major. A way to store these students that might be good as a map as opposed to an array, because we can have these key value pairs. Let me show you what I mean. So let's have students colon equals, and then we're going to say map. Again, this is a way to declare this map data structure, and then the key is going to go in these square brackets. So the key will be of type string because that's our name. And then outside of the square brackets will be the value, which is also a string in our case because it's a major. I mean, if we wanted to number the students, maybe it would be an int, like Joe would be student 1, Frank would be student 2, etc. But we're going to have each student's name on the key side in the square brackets line up with each student's major on the value side. So that just comes after the square brackets. Then we create these opening curly brackets like this. And so now we're saying we're going to create a map of key values of type string and string. So we can do the student's name. So let's say Joe, for example, and maybe his major is education, some type of education. Then we put a comma there. So Joe is the key. We put a comma, or we put a colon, and then we put the value, and then we put a comma. So that's the first item in our map. The second item, let's say it is Amelia. We'll bring Amelia back, and her major is physics. So again, Amelia is the key, colon, physics is the value, comma. And then let's bring Frank back for a reprise here. So Frank is here, and his major is art. He's an art major. And so we might need a comma here, not sure. Let's delete this, save it. And you can see it formatted for us on save. We have our students equals, and this is just red because we haven't used it yet, our map of string keys, which is on the left hand side, key, all strings, and values, all strings on the right hand side. If I try and create a value of Frank as 2, I think it's going to yell at me. So let's do that. Save it. You can see a red squiggly here. Cannot use int as string value in map literal. Yep, so let's do that. And so we changed it back, and now it is not red anymore. And so this is how we create a map of key value pairs. Now let's talk about how we can manipulate this map. So let's talk about accessing these students in our map literal that we've created. So to do that, we can say if we want to print one of the students, let's println, if it lets me, fmt.println, there we go. We're going to say students, and in order to access a specific student, we need to use the square brackets, and I'm going to say students, and we have to pick one of the keys. And if we say students Joe, then we're going to get the value education. So if I say students, print students Joe, then it's going to give me the major of Joe. So for example, if I run this, we'll see we get education, and maybe I could say here something like major, like this. So the major of students Joe will be education. So now we run it, we get major education. I can take out this space. There we go. And now let's say we want students Amelia. Save it, and we should get physics. Yep, Amelia's major is physics, and it would be the same for Frank, right? If we put students Frank, we would get major art. Now I'm going to comment out these for now, or at least this top object literal. I want to show you one more way we can make a map and assign values. I would imagine you probably see the object literal way more often, but occasionally you might see this way. So let's say students colon equals, and this is a different way to make a map. So we can say make, and then parentheses, because make is like a built-in function here, and we're going to say map of string as the key and string as the value, like that. We can save that, and now this will initialize to an empty map, I believe. So if we try and print this, let's go in here, let's print students now, and it should just be empty. And if we print it, we get ourselves an empty map, which is fine. And now we would have to like physically go in and assign each student a major. So we could say students, and then we say the key on the left hand side. So if we want students, Joe is the key, equals, and then we would put the value on the right hand side, education, like this. And then if we print students, we're gonna get a map with Joe in it. Yeah. And then we would do the same thing for Amelia and Frank. So we would say Amelia, and down here we'd say Frank, and Amelia is physics, and Frank is art. So we save that. Again, this is just a different way to make it. We run it. We see we get all of our students and their majors, and we can access everything the exact same way. Let's just access students Frank here, and we should get art printed out. Yep, and we get art.